Have you ever noticed that the more you show someone how much you need them, the more they pull away? As if every kind gesture, every attempt to connect simply becomes invisible? As if your effort, your devotion, your generosity were seen as weakness? And the worst part is, that feeling eats you alive. You give your best, you want to be seen, appreciated, valued. But what you get in return is silence, contempt, indifference. I know how much that hurts. I've felt it deep in my soul. But today you're going to discover a secret that completely changed my life. A key that, once turned, flips the entire game. There is an ancient art, a silent code that has nothing to do with emotional games. A profound wisdom taught by the great Stoic masters, one that shows you how to stop chasing and start attracting. Strategic indifference isn't about becoming cold. It's about earning respect. It's about knowing exactly who you are, with such clarity that your presence alone makes noise. Today on Motivation You Need, you're going to learn how to reclaim your worth, rebuild your inner strength, and become emotionally unshakable. Stay with me until the end, because this knowledge is a complete turning point for your mental, emotional, and spiritual health. You'll learn that the secret to being respected isn't in pleasing people or trying to be accepted. It's in mastering yourself, in realizing that people only value what they cannot control, what is not always available, what carries power, and that power is already inside you. It just needs to be awakened. Think about the times you did everything you could to be loved, seen, appreciated, and what did you receive? Frustration, rejection, indifference. Why? Because you gave away your worth, and those who live to be noticed often end up invisible. But what if I told you there's a way to flip that logic? A way for the very people who once ignored you to start craving your presence? That path starts with an internal shift. It's not about manipulating others. It's about rebuilding yourself from the inside out. And the first step is controlling your emotional response. When someone doesn't value you, how do you react? Do you try to prove yourself? Get resentful? Beg for attention? None of that works. What actually works is calm indifference. The tranquility of someone who knows their worth, who isn't shaken because they've realized their dignity doesn't come from being accepted, but from fully accepting themselves. When you respond to rejection with serenity, you flip the entire game. The second key is unpredictability. When you act the same way all the time, people get used to you. They predict your steps. They control your emotions. But when you break the pattern, when you create an unexpected silence, a sudden space, you mess with their mind. Absence becomes presence. Silence becomes power. That empty space becomes a mirror, forcing the other person to see themselves. And what they see is the reflection of loss. The reflection of someone who is no longer predictable, accessible, or available, but valuable. Epictetus once said, "No one can hurt you without your consent," and that's one of the most powerful truths you can internalize. When you realize that you have the power to choose where to place your emotional energy, everything changes. The people who once dismissed you will realize they can't affect you anymore, that you become immune to provocation, emotionally untouchable. And that, my friend, is irresistible. That's when you start to be seen as rare, as someone who can't be manipulated, as someone who must be earned. But it doesn't stop there. There are 5 fundamental steps that will cement this shift in your posture. And the first is mastering the art of intelligent indifference. This is an emotional skill few develop, but it completely transforms your presence. Have you noticed how constant interest often leads to loss of value? Your attention should be earned, not automatically given. Seneca said, "He who is a slave to the desires of others will never earn true respect." And that's liberating. Apply this with wisdom. Learn to say no calmly, without aggression, without drama. A simple, "That doesn't work for me right now," is enough to show that you have boundaries, that you have a center, that you don't live to please. The second step is to stop justifying everything. When you start over-explaining yourself, you're trying to convince others that you deserve respect. But respect is not requested. It's earned through posture, presence, and firmness. And that brings us to the third step, presence. When you walk into a room and radiate confidence without saying a word, that is power. It's not about fancy words or status. It's about energy, about looking someone in the eye, about being fully present in the moment. This isn't something you learn from books. It's something you build through practice, discipline, and self-awareness. And here on Motivation You Need, you're receiving the tools to do just that. But I need you to do your part. Comment right now. I decide my worth. This is a pact with yourself, with your evolution, with your freedom. You're about to learn the next step, possibly the most powerful of them all, using silence as a tool for respect. Very few people understand the real power of silence. They think it's a sign of weakness or submission, but the right silence at the right time is stronger than any argument. When you stop reacting, when you refuse to play someone else's emotional game, you take away their power. Silence disarms, silence unsettles. Silence shows that you don't need to prove anything to anyone. And you know what else happens when you use silence wisely? People start to look at you differently. That person who expected your emotional meltdown, your drama, now finds someone calm, someone who responds with class, or not at all. That creates uncertainty, curiosity, and gradually, respect. That's how you begin to create magnetic presence. Not out of neediness, but out of power, out of control, out of real strength. When you understand this, you start to realize you no longer need to chase anyone. What's meant for you, what has true value, will come to you as long as you are whole, present, and aligned with your purpose. We've now reached the most delicate moment of your transformation, when the one who ignored you begins to feel your absence. And here's the secret. You don't need to throw your progress in anyone's face. You don't need to prove anything. Your energy will do that for you. Your new way of behaving, your new posture, the new light in your eyes. All of that speaks louder than any words. Imagine it. That person who used to take you for granted now realizes they lost someone valuable, someone who changed, someone who's no longer standing in the same place. That's rare. That's magnetic. But remember, this change isn't about revenge. It's not about hurting the other. It's about freedom, about no longer begging for scraps of attention, and instead being nourished by your own presence. And in this process, something magical happens. You stop being an option. You become a choice, a rare one, a respected one. Stoicism has always taught us that real strength comes from within, that no one can take from you what you've built through discipline. And that's the final step, cementing that inner power so deeply that nothing and no one can shake it. It's about becoming emotionally unshakable, not because you've hardened your heart, but because you've chosen to live in peace. And peace is a decision that begins when you stop placing your worth in the hands of others. Think about it. How many times have you lost yourself trying to please others? How many times have you stayed silent, shrunk yourself, changed your shape just to be accepted? And what did you gain from it? Now you know that real respect is born from silence, from boundaries, from strength. The person you're becoming is someone who inspires, who attracts, who commands presence, even in silence. And if someone can't see that, they don't deserve to be part of your journey. So now I ask you, are you ready to maintain this new posture, even when the tests come? Because they will come. People will try to throw you off balance. Situations will try to drag you back to old patterns. But now you are different. You know that reacting is giving away power, that justifying yourself is surrendering your worth. And that real growth is in constancy, in self-control, in strategic silence, and above all, in your firm decision to never again shrink to fit in someone else's life. Your emotional health thanks you, your mind strengthens, and your spirit rises. The path of intelligent indifference is really the path of true self-connection, a path that begins in the pain of rejection, but ends in the freedom of knowing you will never again be controlled by anyone. You'll begin to notice day by day how life responds differently when you change from within, how people start to look at you differently, how even new opportunities begin to show up, and all of it simply because you stopped begging and started radiating value. So now tell me, are you willing to continue this journey? To grow a little stronger every day? To become someone emotionally untouchable? Not out of coldness, but out of wisdom? If so, I want to see you comment right now. I decide my worth. That's the symbol of your commitment to yourself. And if this video touched something inside you, leave a like and share it with someone who also needs to learn how to stop chasing and start valuing themselves. If you haven't subscribed yet to Motivation You Need, this is your moment. Activate the bell to keep receiving content that empowers your mind, heals your emotions, and awakens your spiritual strength. Your new life begins with a decision, and that decision is yours. From now on, you don't live to please anyone. You live to be whole, to be true, to be free. Stay in motion, stay in silence, stay in peace. Because the one who masters himself masters the world.